Morning. Good morning,
Morning.
everyone. Just wanted to, first of all, give you all a super warm welcome to all of our customers joining today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining today's session. It is, of course, dedicated to the roadmap for Access Education People. So just to go through introductions as to who your team is presenting today. So for those who don't know me, I'm Reshma. I'm one of the Premier Customer Success Managers here at Access Education. And then presenting on today's session, we have Alex Armstrong. Alex is our Customer Success Management Leader. We also have Charlotte. Charlotte is our Senior Product Manager for Access Education People. There we go. So with the agenda as to what we're covering today, so Alex is going to be providing a strategic overview of Access Education. And then Charlotte will be talking us through the product roadmap, sharing those exciting insights and highlights and updates. So with that, I will pass over to Alex.
Amazing. Thank you, Reshma. So I'm just going to start by saying thank you so much for giving up your time to attend this webinar today. It does mean a lot to us, and we just want to make sure that you leave with all the information and everything that you want. So as Reshma said, please put questions in the chat. There are a few of us on this call and we're ready to answer them. So if you want to go to the next slide, Reshma. Please. As you're probably aware, or in case you're not, Access Education is already operating at significant national scale. So we support over 9,000 learning institutions and are presently in around half of all trusts. And our software is used by 3.5 million pupils and staff across the country. So while there are, I think, around 50 of you on this call today, which is absolutely incredible, you are actually part of many thousands of education teams who rely on Access software. You rely on us to run those mission critical operations in your day-to-day world, and that trust is fundamental to us. It's built on more than just features, and I want to take a moment to just talk about security. Security, resilience, and data protection sit at the heart of Access Education and everything we do. Our systems in particular aren't just about convenience. They're systems of record, systems of accountability, and systems that carry real personal and organizational risk. We are very aware of that. We work with so many customers and industry experts to ensure that as we enter this new world of AI and emerging tools, we stay focused on that core purpose and value for our customers. So by putting your trust in a nationally established software provider, you are benefiting from what we invest in. So you've got enterprise grade security and compliance, robust hosting, monitoring and resilience, strong governance, audibility and controls. And we really hope this gives you confidence that your data is protected, that what goes in is safe, and that our platforms are resilient, ensuring you're not exposed to unnecessary operational or cyber risks because of anything related to access. We hear so much now in our industry about cybersecurity and cyber risks, and it's important that we put ourselves out there and actually say clearly to you, security is absolutely at the heart of everything we are doing. As you hear about the incredible, exciting new roadmap that Charlotte's going to present and the fantastic new tools, I just want to lay that foundation for you right now. So just one more slide from me, and then we can get to the really important bits, the ones I know you've turned up for. So with Access Education, even though you hear from education people teams, we are a suite provider. So we offer more than just a single tool. And part of what we're working towards is helping the education sector move away from fragmented, unconnected data, where people spend huge amounts of time downloading, uploading, and creating Excel pivot tables just to report to trustees or governors. Access Education has our sights set on a future where your workflow is simple, connected, and efficient, getting you from A to B in the easiest way possible. Over the past 6 months, Access as a software company has made massive investment into this team, and we are so excited about the firepower this gives us to reach the place you want us to be in faster than ever before. We know there have been times when we've been slower than you would have wanted, but that is normal. We are fully invested in this space and committed to pushing forward so you not only hear about the impact of that investment, you actually see it. So without further ado, I know you're here for the roadmap and for the people delivering it on the ground, so I'll hand over to Charlotte.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much for that overview as well and that introduction to the things that we're going to be talking about today. I agree, it's a really exciting time for Access and, very exciting for the people management space as well. So good morning, everyone. My name's Charlotte. I'm the Senior Product Manager for our Access Education People Management products. I'm responsible for overseeing the product strategy and the roadmap for the People Management Suite, one of the elements that Alex was just talking about there. So everything that you use day to day for your HR and workforce management within your schools or trusts with us. I work closely with our development teams here at Access Education, and my job is really making sure that your feedback gets to our development teams and informs the work that we do to develop the product and to deliver what you need. So in that sense, I'm really glad to be speaking to you on the session today. It's a great opportunity for me to share what we've been working on, to show you some of what's coming next, and most importantly, to make sure that what we're building is actually useful for you and your teams. So in my section of the session, we're going to be covering three things. Firstly, I'll walk you through the highlights of our roadmap, giving you some information about the things we've recently delivered, things that are currently in development, and the developments that are coming up on the horizon as well. So I've got a couple of live demonstrations to go through of our in development features as well, so you can see that work in action rather than just hearing me talk about it. And as Reshma mentioned, throughout the whole session, please do use the Q&A box if there's anything you'd like more information about that we can follow up with you on. So before I get into the specifics of the roadmap here, I want to give you a quick sense of how we think about the roadmap. Everything that you see today has been shaped by feedback from customers like you, either through the tickets that you're raising, the conversations that you're having with the product and UX teams, or through the variety of research things that we're doing and regularly conducting. So if you do see something on the roadmap and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is exactly what I asked for, then there's a very good chance it genuinely is, because we've taken that feedback and used it to inform that roadmap. So with that in mind, let's get into it, and we'll start with what we've already shipped, because I think it's important to recognise the things that's already in your hands in the product today before we look ahead to what's coming. So in terms of the recent releases, first up on the left-hand side, we have Mail Merge via Integrated Copilot. This is one I'm particularly excited about because it's a really genuine time saver. You can now draft templated documents with a single click, with Copilot generating quality content that you can then review and refine. So if you're spending time each month or more regularly building letters, contracts, communications manually, this is designed to take a significant chunk of that off of your plate. We've also made some significant usability changes to the mail merge creation page as well, making it much easier for you to create templates with or without the assistance of Copilot. So the whole usability of that page has been improved itself. So next, we've improved how phased returns work. Previously, if you needed to amend the duration or a start date of a phased return on a sickness record, you had to re-enter the data that was already there. And if you've encountered this, you'll know how frustrating it is. It was causing a lot of unnecessary effort and rework, but that's now fixed. So the system now retains the phased return information that you've already saved on the record. And when you make those amendments, it will kind of keep that data there, and you're just adding on the extra data that you need to add rather than doing it all over again. So that will keep things accurate and save you the frustration of rekeying all that data over again. Thirdly, sickness records, an indicator to show when there's attachments present on a sickness record. This is one of those small changes that actually makes a really practical difference. So what it looks like is that you can now see at a glance which records have attachments. If you're looking at employee and their list of records, there's now a little indicator that shows you that there are attachments present on that record. You don't have to go in each one to see if that's there. And particularly if you're managing a high volume of absence cases, that additional layer of visibility can actually save a surprisingly large amount of time. So we're hopeful that very, very small change is going to have a big difference when it comes to looking at sickness records. We've also launched our integrations to Arbor and Bromcom. This means your people data, so your staff, your absences, etc., can stay in step with your management information system, avoiding the need to duplicate effort across platforms and reducing the risk of data entry errors. So for those of you working across multi-academy trusts or schools with existing Arbor or Bromcom setups, this is a meaningful step forward in your plans to achieve a better level of data coherence across the different systems that you're using. And finally, the last item in the delivered column on this left-hand side, we've added a custom reporting data set for additions and deductions to pay. So this enhances the range of data that's available when you're building your own reports using the custom reporting feature, and allows you to pull in the data that you need around additions and deductions to pay without having to rely on those pre-built report formats. So we're just expanding the range of data that's available in the custom reporting area there. So that's just a kind of highlight of the 5 most recent things that we've delivered and put into the software and into your hands. So we'll move on now to look at what's currently in build, what the team are currently working on as we speak, and we'll go over the features that are active in development right now. So as I said, you'll start to see these appear in the product over the coming weeks and months. These are currently in development. They'll kind of be dropping one by one as we kind of finish and release those things. And just to kind of give you a flavour of the things that we are working on. This doesn't cover everything that we're currently working on. We're obviously working on stuff like performance, stability, and kind of that back-end maintenance of the software as well. We're not just doing these kind of new features. We are doing all of the things that make the platform run as best as it can, and running in that kind of really maintainable and secure way. But this is really like the kind of highlights reel just for the session today. So the first item on this list, I'm going to call it out separately, single central record item at the top there. I'm going to park that for a moment because what I want to do is give you a quick demonstration of our development so far, and I'll do that in just a few minutes. So do keep that one in mind. We will be coming back to it. So I'll take you through the others first before I do that. So one of the areas we're investing significantly in is the self-service experience. We're making some really exciting changes to this area to deliver an improved look and feel, to provide a smoother user journey for employees and managers using that self-service area of the People platform. And more importantly, we'll be able to offer a native mobile integration for the self-service functionality in Access Education People within the Access Evo platform itself. We know that your workforce are increasingly accessing their systems on their phones, including their HR self-service to view payslips and submit leave requests and things like that. So making that experience as good as it can be on a mobile device is a really, really high priority for us. As I mentioned, this will be within the Access Evo platform, and we're able to do this by leveraging the work that is currently being done by a central team. So it's kind of outside the People team. There's a whole Access Evo development team that does nothing but work on Access Evo, and it's their job to develop the platform itself. So we're able to leverage that and just kind of slot in the work that we're doing to bring that functionality into that container and benefit from that native mobile functionality as well. So it's going to be a much smoother process on our side and hopefully on your side once we release this as well. You're going to be hearing a lot more about the self-service elements in the coming weeks and months, so do keep an eye out for that. If we want feedback loops, focus groups, things like that, that's something that we'll be really, really keen to get your involvement in. So please do keep an eye out for more information about that one. The next couple of items on this list, we are adding a grievances data set to our custom reporting capability. So this will allow you to create reports on the grievances data in your system, which you can then use to do things like monitoring grievance process performance, tracking how long these processes are taking, where they are in the process, any missing data on these items, and any outstanding actions that need your attention in a nice, easily reportable format. So for those of you in HR teams who are managing formal processes, having that data that's easily reportable is really valuable. So again, we're really excited to be bringing this to the custom reporting area. And similarly, we're also building a training, education and qualifications data set, and this will enable you to build custom reports to analyse your workforce's qualifications and the overall skill set among your staff. And so this is useful for things like workforce planning, identifying development needs across your school or trust, as well as being really valuable for compliance purposes as well. As I mentioned, both of those data sets are being built directly into custom reporting, where you have all that flexibility to use the data sets that we have available now that are coming later to create the reports laid out in the way that you need them to be and to have those shareable as well. And then finally in this column, we are building the second phase of our direct integration with eTeach for vacancy submissions. So the first phase that we built enabled hired candidates and all of their data to be sent from eTeach into Access Education People. The second phase that we're building now covers the beginning of that process. So rather than having to manually replicate vacancy information across 2 systems, you'll be able to submit vacancies directly from Access Education People and upload the information automatically to eTeach, ultimately reducing duplication and the risk of errors that might creep in if you're copying data between platforms. Okay, so as I mentioned, the first item in this list is the single central record, and I'm really keen to show you what we've been building rather than just describing it. So Reshma, I am going to attempt to share my screen. Let's hope that the demo gods are with us and we can do that in a nice smooth way. So hopefully you're now seeing the SCR dashboard. Perfect, excellent. So here we are in the single central record. I want to show you the improvements that we've been making because I know this is an area that many of you are spending a lot of time in, particularly when it comes to managing the data that makes up your single central record and in terms of inspection readiness as well. And the SCR obviously is one of those things that absolutely has to be right. So if you're going to an Ofsted inspection and your SCR isn't in order, that's obviously a significant problem. So everything we've done here has been focused on making it quicker to maintain, easier to audit, and less reliant on any manual workarounds that you might currently be using with the people system. So you see here I've got a dashboard view. This is a trust overview. You see the data that we've got here is an example of a trust with 4 schools. And I can see at a glance kind of the different compliance rate statuses of those particular schools. And the compliance rate is made up of the percentage of those mandatory checks that are present or not present or incomplete on the people that are underneath that particular school. We've also got these KPIs at the top here. We can see how many people are being covered in the SCR as it stands, the overall compliance rate at the trust level, and the number of urgent actions where they're either missing checks or have expired checks that we need to action very, very quickly, and a view of those checks that are expiring soon as well, so we can immediately see where those gaps might come up very shortly if we aren't kind of on top of building those up. So what I can do here is click into any one of these schools to take a closer look. So if I click through to here, we get the school-based view. You can see at the top here, these have all updated to show me the KPIs for that particular school. We can see the compliance rate for the school overall is 82. And down here, I've got a list of people that are requiring attention. We can see that we've got a very quick reference view of the checks that they require and where those gaps might exist. So we can see that particularly on Hannah Price, we need to check the status of this prohibition check, and also there might be some qualifications or a QTS verification that's missing as well. And I can filter this again by clicking either the urgent tab up here just to see which ones are very urgently missing that key information, and again any that are expiring soon. So I've got a really nice actionable list that I can very quickly dive into for the gaps of the data that might exist there. We also have this all staff records view. So rather than drilling down by school, I can very quickly see at a glance the everyone on the SCR in one place. We are currently building this. This is a kind of live development system that we're working on building. So we are going to be changing these columns based on feedback that we've received to make that view a bit more similar to the one that you've just seen. But again, it just gives you this really clear view of what category this person's in, the status of various checks, and that compliance score there as well. When it comes to filtering, I can filter down by the type of person that we have here. So my teaching staff and support staff are in here. My leadership staff are separate in a separate group. Also governors, trustees, and volunteers, contractors, agency supply staff, all of those are kind of in separate categories as well. I can filter this view again by any of those kind of compliance statuses and any kind of green, amber, red statuses as well. And we're working on making this as configurable as you need it to be. So things like the compliance score, giving you some ideas of configuring thresholds. So only when we kind of reach a certain percentage does it turn to red or amber or things like that. And just making it as flexible as possible, as customizable as possible, so that what we provide you in an SCR manager can actually work for you in your processes as well. When it comes to adding new people, I simply click this and it takes me through a really nice clear wizard of adding a new person to the system. I can choose what type of person they are, and this is going to drive the mandatory checks that I may need to fill in for this particular person and the things that the SCR requires us to capture and store for that particular person. So for example, if I was to click on agency and third-party staff, I'd see a different list of checks than if I clicked volunteer or member or trustee, things like that. And then as I go through, it's a really, really nice clear wizard on the left-hand side that's going to take me step by step through each of those things. We've got the basic details that we're capturing here, identity checks, right to work, DBS, all of that. And it's at this point that we'll be able to leverage integration to access screening as well. So you can go away and request those checks and have the results come back and populated on the SCR as well. I won't walk through the whole process. Hopefully that kind of gives you a good idea of how that works. When it comes to viewing the details of a particular person, if I open up one of these here, let's go for just one of these. This is the view that we get of a person's details. We can see the compliance overview at a glance here, all complete, all good, 100% score there. You can see details of the posts that they hold, details of that identity check that was done and when it was done, details of the DBS check, things like that, qualifications as we go through. So it gives us a really nice overview of all of the checks in one place for that particular person, as opposed to previously where it was a little bit here, there and everywhere to try and find all that data and bring it all together. We have a audit trail that we've built as well. So if I click on here, you kind of get an idea of the kind of things that we're tracking through an audit trail. So you can immediately see when those checks have been done for particular people, when documents have been uploaded, when new staff records have been created and things like that. We're working on kind of refining the actions and the things that we want to show in here. We know that not all of this is particularly necessary. We just want to kind of clean it out and make it as straightforward as possible. But this kind of iterative feedback process is the kind of thing that really helps us to land on the solution that's really going to be most beneficial. And we are kind of working through all of that feedback right now. We also have reports, things like that, a full SCR report in the format that you need it to be in for inspection, for example, working on making that available in kind of PDF format, Excel format, as well as other reports as well. So where there are members of staff who started work before all those required checks were completed, if you needed to do things like a risk assessment on those particular staff members, you could run a report on that and just make sure that those risk assessments are all in place. Things like missing information reports, that kind of thing. So we've got lots of capabilities to be creating these reports. The kind of custom reporting capability is something we might consider for the future as well. Just really making sure that you've got the access to the data that you need and you can report on it in the way that you need to. So that, as I said, very, very quick kind of tour of the SCR single central records that we are building. This is actively in development. This is something that we are working on right now. I think some of you may have already been in contact with us, giving us your feedback. If you do have any more ideas or feedback, please drop it in the Q&A box, and we can definitely pick that up and maybe reach out for further conversation as well, because it's your feedback that's really going to shape how this product ultimately looks. So Reshma, if you're okay to share the slides again, we'll go back to the roadmap.
No worries, just give that a second to load.
Excellent, thank you. So looking a bit further ahead at what's coming next on the roadmap, these are features that aren't yet in development, but we have firmly planned on the radar. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of what's coming on the horizon. Again, at the top there is case management, and I'm going to do a little bit of a demo on that one, so I'll just skip over that one just for just a second. We'll get to that one in a few minutes after I've covered the other items on this list here. Second on this list is the scheduled custom reporting and folder-based navigation. So again, in the area of custom reporting, I know this is a hugely valuable area of the product. We've seen a lot of great adoption of this. We just want to kind of iterate and again make that even better. So we're looking at introducing scheduled delivery for custom reports. So in the same way as for the standard reports in the system, rather than having to remember to run a report manually, you'll be able to set it up once in custom reporting, have it delivered automatically on a schedule. Further to that, we're also planning to introduce folder-based navigation for reports in custom reporting, which will make it much easier to organise and find your custom reports as the number of reports that you're creating and maintaining grows and that list becomes longer. Having a kind of folder basis will just make it easier to organise those. And then further to the data sets that we're currently working on for grievance and for training, education and qualifications, we are planning to add custom reporting data specifically for maternity, paternity and adoption. And again, this will give you far greater flexibility in reporting on these leave types, which is useful for both operational management and for any compliance or maybe equality reporting that you need to produce. Again, just broadening that, that set of data that we have there. And then further to that, a disciplinary data set is also on the roadmap, so enabling that custom reporting on disciplinary cases. Again, we're hoping that this supports both the day-to-day management of these records, but also any formal reporting requirements that you have around workforce conduct and anything that you want to be reporting on a regular basis in that regard. And then last thing on this list, one that I know many of you will be interested in, we are planning integration with SIMS. So we've already delivered the Arbor and Romcom integrations that you saw in the delivered column on the left, and then SIMS is the next step of this whole MIS integration picture. And again, this is going to allow you to sync access education people data with SIMS, reducing that need for duplicating data entry and keeping both your systems aligned. We know SIMS is still widely used across the sector, so this is a really important piece of work for us, just as I say, to kind of round off that whole MIS integration picture. So again, I kind of skipped over on the first item on this list, which is case management. What I would like to do is do another quick demo. I'm sorry, Rashma, to keep making you switch between screens,
No,
but
you're
I
good.
think it's really exciting for us to show you what we are building. Unlike the SCR that I showed you before, which is in active development, case management is at the prototype stage. So what I will be sharing is a working prototype that will hopefully give you a real flavour of where we're taking this capability. It also means it's very, very flexible and malleable, something that we can take and iterate on. And what you're going to see is certainly not set in stone as the kind of thing that we are going to be delivering. It just enables us to move much quicker with working with your feedback, working with kind of what we learn, what we research, and what we understand about the needs for a case management system, and being able to present something to the development team ultimately that really matches the feedback that we've received and meets the needs that we know are out there. So if it's okay, I will share my screen again and we'll take a look at the case management prototype. Hopefully that should be coming through now.
Yeah, I can see that, Charlotte.
Perfect. So yeah, here we are. And again, this is a working prototype. It's not a production feature. So what you are kind of seeing here is a kind of clickable mock-up, if you like. It's a wireframe of the kind of thing that we're thinking about doing. We have a dashboard here that is showing all of the cases in terms of case management in the system. I've got a view here of my numbers of active cases, things that are have overdue actions on them, any upcoming hearings on those cases. I can also track low-level concerns as well. So anything that's not been escalated to a formal case, if I'm just logging as a low-level concern, I can track those in this system as well. And I've got a view here of my recent active cases that I can quickly jump into. So anything that I was looking at recently, I could quickly jump into it from there. Again, I can filter this down by school. I can view all schools across the trust or particularly look at any school that I'm particularly interested in. Similarly, if I want to give permissions to members of staff that don't need to be seeing all 3 schools, I could just give them permissions to see the ones at Riverside, for example. So that permission structure is still very much there. When it comes to creating things, cases, the kind of things that we're capturing is the type of case. As with all of the drop-downs and option sets in people, this will be configurable, so you can choose what type of cases you want to be kind of logging here. Things like low-level concerns are going to be default in the system. Things like this are probably going to be default quite widely as well, but if there's any other case types, there's no reason why you couldn't just create a new type to kind of select in there and be tracking separately. We choose the employee this relates to. Again, this is just a really, really simple example of how we might choose the employee. We might have something like a organization structure tree or a search, things like that. Right now, it's just a very simple drop down, just for purposes of demonstrating what we're thinking. But the idea is that this will hook into your people system. It will kind of pick up all of those employees that we can see in the people system and have them be able to be selected from there. The school that it relates to, we've just got this picking up the school that this person works at. If it differs or if it's in relation to a different school, you could change that. But this is just kind of how we're thinking about it working for now. And then providing a brief summary of the case, just a really brief initial summary, the reason for opening the case. I'll just call it this for now. And the opportunity to have restricted access. So if it's a case that needs to be limited in terms of visibility to only designated users or the case owner, you can have that set up there as well. Okay. Test demo, more than 10 characters. absolutely fine. Okie dokie. And when I open this, we can see a few details in here, the kind of things that we can track on here. We've got the details about the employee, details about the case itself, and that wonderfully elaborate description I put in there. And then a timeline, and this is where it's going to be really important to have things like hooking into the meetings, elements of Access Education people, documents being uploaded, hearings, and all of those important dates that go along with a case system and a case process, having those kind of listed there. And I'll show you a different case in just a second about that kind of demonstrates that a bit better. Documents as well, any case related documents that you want to upload to a particular case, we've got a kind of upload document functionality that we're thinking of putting in there. And then support plans. So if you want to create a support plan to go along with a kind of disciplinary or performance related case, we've got this kind of idea to create a support plan to guide the employee and the person managing the case through supporting that employee to kind of meet the requirements of the role for whatever reason that we've got this case being raised here. Things like objectives, success criteria, an end date for that support plan, milestones, and all of that good stuff, and then being able to track that through this system as well. It's kind of the way we're thinking of going. If I just go back to one of these cases and we take a look at one that has some timeline on it. So in true Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier with things like the hearings, the meetings, the case open date, things like that, all of this detail that we can then have visible on this very, very clear, easy to read timeline. And what isn't kind of built into this prototype yet, but will be, is the ability to kind of create an item that goes on the timeline. You know, if you want to log an extra meeting, kind of book those hearings and meetings in advance, that's something that we're certainly looking at hooking into here as well. And in terms of low-level concerns, we can log those kind of in a very similar way. You know, record a new concern here. Again, pick the school, pick the employee, category of low-level concern, the date that it's reported, a brief description, and then the reporter's name, for example. And once those are created, again, we get a very similar view to the cases, but this just particularly relates to that low-level concern, which we can then escalate to a formal case if needs be. So I can click this button up here, and that's going to take me to this dialog that helps me to target this, to escalate this to a target case type, however kind of it needs to be escalated in that way. And in that way, we can kind of hook into automated processes, things like notifications for updates and actions, and all that stuff as well. And then finally, I will quickly show you the reports and analytics. Again, this is kind of a really super simple layout that we're running with right now while we're just getting feedback and getting an idea of what's going to be useful and what's not going to be useful. Things like, you know, number of cases by type, cases by status. This is where, again, your feedback is going to be really, really helpful in helping us to shape what we actually have on this reporting and analytics page. So again, as we move through this process and start to mold what this functionality is really going to look like in a live product that sits in the system, we'll be having lots of opportunities for you to feedback, focus groups, feedback sessions, and all of that good stuff. So I hope you will be open to kind of giving that feedback. It's super helpful for us, but also really exciting for us to get your thoughts on these things as well. If you have any immediate thoughts that you want to pop in the Q&A, we will absolutely pick those up. So do let us know what you think. And that is really everything that I was going to show you today. It was a bit of a whistle-stop tour through the roadmap, but I did just want to, you know, show you a couple of things that we've got coming up as well that actually brings these things to life on screen. So I'll just say thank you so much for your attention, and thank you so much for attending the session today. And I'll hand back to Reshma.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Charlotte. I'm just going to skip forward a couple of slides. Amazing. So again, thanks so much, Charlotte. It's really, really great to see so many exciting developments that are coming. Also wanted to say a big thank you to all of our attendees for taking the time to join today's webinar. I do hope it's been really insightful. As always, your feedback is really, really valuable to us. So it's much appreciated as it helps shape the future of our product development and, of course, make sure that our solutions keep delivering to your needs. I have popped a link there for our short survey. So if you wouldn't mind just sparing a couple of minutes to run through that, sharing your thoughts on today's session with us, that would be much appreciated. But thank you so much for joining today's session. Amazing.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your day.